Just quickly on the budget, we had the Treasurer out today with the Finance Minister, doing a bit of an early sell of the budget, which will come down not tomorrow, but tomorrow week on Tuesday night here on Sky News, of course. Let's have a listen.
This budget will take a responsible, sensible and a balanced approach. It will be an inflation-fighting and future-making budget. There will be cost of living help for people doing it tough. There will be key investments in a future made in Australia. And all of that will be underpinned by the responsible economic management which has been a hallmark of this Albanese government.
We've got reports, Dennis, government spending is accelerating in the budget. Deficits are forecast to widen over the next 4 years as a result. We had a former RBA governor, Phil Lowe, out there alongside a whole lot of economists saying he thinks interest rates could still rise. Lots of concern about inflation. This makes it very hard for this to be a vote-buying budget, the sort of budget that Labor generally loves.
Well, indeed, and what Jim Chalmers is trying to talk about is a new model for growth. He has been talking about this for quite some time, saying that he has to help with cost of living, but also the big thing is about investments in Western Sydney. $14 billion there. What we're seeing is a concentration on trying to get growth through spending, government spending, but also trying to attract private investment. But so far, the future made in Australia has not taken off, and all it has done has got warnings from the OECD and everyone else that spending is still going to be a problem with inflation, and this is still becoming the real problem for the government. There is still a danger of an interest rate rise in the next change of interest rates, not an interest rate cut.
The weak response, Dennis, on another topic, the weak response from the Federal Minister who oversees the tertiary education sector, Jason Clare. We've seen all of those university protests. They're not just pro-Palestinian protests, they're anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic protests. He doesn't seem to want to do anything about it. I mean, his seat in Western Sydney, I'll say again, is over 30% Muslim. That might be why he's pulling his punches, but he bucked past everything over recent days to university vice-chancellors, said it's a problem for them. They're wringing their hands, they're not doing much at all. There's a story today about a whole group of rabbis who met with the Prime Minister, and when they pushed the Prime Minister on this university protest, he said, oh, they're just all trots, they're ignorant of Middle East history, but he's not doing anything proactively on campuses to reassure Jewish students about their safety. Jewish MP, we know him well, Liberal Julian Leeser, he says, look, we've got to have a judicial inquiry. Not a parliamentary inquiry. Let's get in a respected judge to look into what's happening on these campuses, because you're basically going to send a whole generation of Jewish students away from the university sector if this keeps going.
Well, I think that Julian Leeser is obviously very genuine and sincere in what he wants to do. I think a judicial inquiry or royal commission is probably too much. I think what we need to do is have the government actually take some responsibility on decisions, actually trying to say we'll make a decision and force some of the vice-chancellors into implementing what are already existing laws and protections for people who are obviously feeling frightened. What we are now seeing is a refusal. So why the silence from Clare then, Dennis? Well, Jason Clare's remark that somehow from the river to the sea could be interpreted differently was an absurd, puerile argument to suggest that something which we all know means the annihilation of Israel and the removal of Israel as a state, to try and suggest it meant something else. I mean, everything can be taken differently and different interpretations, but when there is one main interpretation, then that is what you do in a political sense. And Clare really, as we've seen the Prime Minister today say, yes, it was a mistake. Well, yet another mistake made by somebody that the Prime Minister is not making take responsibility. I think that there is a dangerous element on campuses at the moment, but it has, again, been a very long build. And what we are seeing is the build-up of this through all sorts of social, a lack of social cohesion, attacks, public protests, threats. Bill Shorten mentioned the other day about people coming into Melbourne University asking people to stand in favour of Gaza, and if they didn't stand, they had their photographs taken. This is totalitarian behaviour. It's threatening, and it's taking place on our campuses now, and I think action needs to be taken now, not excuses made by the relevant minister, and I think the Prime Minister needs to act. Another area where the government is refusing to take responsibility and pushing decisions, pushing the blame off onto unnamed public servants or people who are not elected. It's time the government stood up on this issue as well as so many other issues.
We speak with Clout. Dennis Shanahan, thank you.